And welcome to another edition of Thoughts of the Roundtable with me, Matt Rebar.
And me, Paul Laux.
And how you doing, Paulie?
Doing pretty good. I know we're going to talk about this later, but I am now a published author.
Yay! Yes, we are. So in the next episode will be an exclusive interview with me, Matt, interviewing Paul about his newest book. We will find out the inspiration. We will find out some behind the scenes. We'll find out what got cut from the final draft, final copy, as well as if Paul liked my advice, because I got to read the manuscript. I have not read the final, but I don't imagine too much has changed. So it's going to be really exciting. And
a little bit has, not too much though.
Yeah. So we'll save it for next week. But meanwhile, we promised last time we got together that we were going to do some, we're going to look at some advice pieces, but not actually give advice. Or we're going to try not to give advice, but we'll see.
It's basically going to be a judging session, which is basically what it's going to be. And
I know 2021's calling for unity, but not on this show. Not on this show.
We're already divided by space and time with this, so might as well divide family too. But no, so my idea behind this is I found Facebook is absolutely just a cesspool of ridiculousness and arguments and drama. And there used to be I remember back when I was in college, and I forgot what the website was called. Matt, maybe you remember. It was nothing but like Facebook drama people would screenshot and post. Do you remember this website? It was...
No.
Failbook. It was Failbook.
Okay.
And it was nothing but people posting screenshots. And it was like, I would spend just sometimes hours just scrolling through this as I'm on the radio from like 1 to 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
And no one's calling. But, so that's essentially what I did here. And I found a couple hilarious ones. And I'm going to start off with, this is my absolute favorite thing, probably maybe that I've ever seen. And I want to get your gut reaction and your kind of judgment on everybody involved in this. So let me just kind of spell it all out first. So, do you know all the QAnon things going on? Do you know what QAnon is and all that?
Of course I do. So those who don't, well, I'm glad that you got to go this far in life and not know QAnon. But for those who don't know, real quick, it's basically a bunch of people who believe the most outlandish conspiracies that actually have like no truth to them. They're kind of libelous. It's really insane.
Typically revolves around politics and
it's politics. A lot of it's like, everyone in politics is like a pedophile, and everyone in politics is like it's pretty nutty.
And it's all they finally found out who it was. It's this guy who, I think his name's Ron Watkins, and he lives him and his dad Jim Watkins run it.
Yes,
and they're in the Philippines.
Did you listen to? There's a whole episode about it through the Reply All podcast.
Yes, that's where I found all this out.
Did you read?
It is the
if you've
craziest
not
thing.
Checked it out. I know for some people they love it, for some people they can't get into it, but that episode I think is really important, the way that they actually find who's behind it and why they're behind it, which, guess what, plot twist, they're behind it because it's money and power.
Getting to the point, one of the big things that's been going on in QAnon is how Trump is not going to leave office. Mind you, we're recording this on January 21st. So he already has left office, and Joe Biden is president. But there's this huge conspiracy theory going on that there was going to be something they called the storm, where they arrested all like Hillary Clinton and Obama and Joe Biden, and Trump was going to have 4 more years and be inaugurated. Mm-hmm. And so I was surfing around and I came across this community webpage, and there was people on there who were Q people, and they were absolutely convinced that this was going to happen and Trump was going to be president for 4 more years and everyone was going to get arrested. So much so that someone went on there weeks ago and put an open thing out that says, okay, anybody who wants to bet me $100 that Biden won't take office, I'll take this bet. And so like 30 people jumped on and said, I'll bet you $100 that Trump stays in office. And so what he did is, come January 21st, without these people really knowing it, he screenshotted all of their things saying, hey, I take this bet, I'll pay. And he posted all of their names with them tagged in it and like all of their information. And it's like, you can Venmo me your $100 at this thing, to the entire city's webpage, like their Facebook page.
Oh my gosh. Question for those who are on the QAnon bus. Do you feel like they have finally realized, okay, maybe I've been reading too much of this Q stuff and not...
There's a great... Yeah. It's funny you say this, because I was literally just surfing the news today, and the Washington Post today, you should go read it. I can send it to you. Washington Post actually wrote an article just about that exact thing you just said. and how there's like the community's now kind of dividing between the people who are like admitted that like, okay, I was brainwashed, I got duped, whatever, it's over, I was wrong, it was dumb.
Really?
There are those people who are like, whatever, I got
Doubling down.
who admit they're like, okay, I was wrong, like saying whatever, it was stupid, I'm over it. But there are these people who are doubling down. And funny thing on that post, because I kind of scanned through to see like if the people who are tagged would respond to it. None of them did, except for, which is funny because they backed out on bets basically, except for one who, this lady was like, well, I want to extend it to March 4th because I heard that his inauguration wasn't done legally, like they did it incorrectly, so it's not legal. So they're going to call Trump back to be there for 4 more years. Like this person.
Okay, so let's say that they did mess up. Let's say they mess up. They're like, oh my gosh, you're not actually the president. They're not going to be like, girl, Trump, that's the loophole. They're just gonna like redo it. They just be like, here's the Bible, and like I don't know. I feel like these people feel like we live in like a Japanese anime that it's like Biden didn't get inaugurated. Time to call Trump back, babe. Like that's just not how it works.
So what do you think? I want to know what you think of the screenshotting and like all of that kind of stuff. Like, do you think they should pay up those bets, or should they just kind of let it go?
Okay, so the a-hole in me is like they should pay the bets, like because like they did make a bet, right? I mean, I don't know, but part of me is like all the time we're like, I'll bet you $10, I'll bet you $50. So I don't know how. I mean,
it's clearly not binding. I mean, but
yeah, it's one of those things where like I think they should pay out of like that's if you like if I told you I'll bet you $10 on something, I'll pay you the $10. Even if you go, Matt, don't worry about it. It was just it's just us jesting around or whatever. It's like the good thing to do. But then again, people who like believe Q, are they necessarily good people who are gonna follow in? Like you said, the one lady, oh, it's gonna be March 4th, trying to like extend the bet that she created. So I don't know. Mixed feelings, but well deserved.
I just can't believe they screenshotted all that is some bold action right there. To screenshot.
Gotta do what you gotta do. Did you? I don't know if you've heard, but this one newly elected QAnon-esque representative has already put in paperwork to impeach Joe Biden.
Who is that?
I'm like, I forget her name, but she's like really insane.
What
I'm like,
state?
Girl,
Do you know
it's
what
been
state?
I think the South, which makes a lot of sense, unfortunately, I think. But, it's like, girl, he's been in office for like 2 hours. Can you chill?
They already submitted paperwork for that?
Yeah. Can you believe it? Okay, so question for you, too, before we jump into this advice, because now that we're kind of talking about this stuff. How did you feel on Wednesday, on the inauguration day? I'm curious how you felt, because I had a feeling that was different, I think, from what a lot of people felt. So I'll ask you first.
I don't know what I felt, to be honest. Like I watched it all day, the inauguration and everything, and it just felt. It felt like I felt almost like a weight was off my chest in a way. Like I didn't have to worry about all this stuff. I didn't have to see all of this stuff anymore. And I almost, in a weird way, I almost felt bad for all of the people that, even in Trump's like cabinet, that he wronged. Like my empathy for them was like I actually felt I don't agree with a lot of things like Mike Pence does, like almost nothing, but like as a human being, I felt bad for him because I feel like he completely got just duped and stabbed in the back, and it just made me feel bad for him. If that makes any sense. Like he left such a path of destruction behind him that how could you not just be like kind of bummed out about that? You know what I'm saying?
I don't feel bummed out for anyone who supported him for 4 years. They got what they get.
I get
even
that
right
too.
Now,
like, don't get me wrong.
The senators like
I get that.
Cruz and Hawley, yeah, I think they should be, disbarred or not disbarred, but like banned from the Senate. I do agree with that too. I don't have any empathy there. For me, with the inauguration, I know a lot of people were like, yay, 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 and for due reason. I mean, we've had 4 years of chaos. We are trying to usher in. We're trying to usher in like a new kind of this quote unquote unity. But like, I don't know. I wasn't excited. And here's why. I'm not excited until actual change happens. Until we get these vaccines out. Until, minimum wage, living wage.
Well, how is
really,
it 4% vaccination?
Yeah. And that's really scary low. You know what I mean? It's like, we should be a little bit better than that at this point. I'm not going to be really happy until we tackle social justice, racism and inequality, until we tackle economy, until we start taxing these large corporations, until we fix our healthcare system and like,
we're in a better spot than where we were. Or do not agree.
I mean, it's like, it's like playing Candyland, and instead of being in the dungeon of the chocolate fudge factory, we've managed to move 3 spaces ahead. But the truth is, we still have a whole board to get through.
Oh, that is, ironically enough, that is a very good way of putting it.
And it's like, great, we're 3 steps ahead. We're not in the chocolate fudge kit, but we still have all these issues to figure out, and we're still a mess.
What would you do?
And I hate to sound so nihilistic, because I'm really optimistic. I am so, like, I believe in the good of government. I believe in the power of people. I believe in the goodness of people. Which sounds like some
I honestly was just kind of saddened by the. I've always had like a mild interest in politics, just watching it since I was a kid and everything, and it upset me how it was just kind of degraded the past 4 years, and to see that finally turning the page and making politics boring again, which I feel like it kind of should be, that kind of made me feel better. But if you're president, what would be the first thing you'd do? The first thing.
See, I always think about this, and I think a big one would be social justice and drug reform. So I think immediately nonviolent drug offenders would not have any sentence time. Changing the bail system, changing how we approach private prisons, aka abolishing private prisons. Looking at even policing that has to do with social justice. How policing is managed in this country poorly. Obviously, I think so. We have 25% of the world's prison population. Looking at how parole is handled, because parole again is bias. The whole stigma of drugs and trying to change that into a rehabilitative justice. I think that is such a big thing.
Yeah, but a lot of that is a huge legislative effort. I'm talking about like if there was anything like even executive order wise that you could do from the start, because all of that is good, but all that would take years and years and years and years to sift through. I'm talking about something immediate that you would do. That probably you could be done with an order.
If it was possible, I don't know if this is possible. I'm not constitutional. My expertise in law is not constitutional. That's to say the least.
Just
if
criminal.
There is expertise in law, right? Just a little criminal. I did internet drug court back in 2016. Anyway, but I think if I could change the Senate to a population-based Senate, I would do that.
Oh God, that would be like you'd be changing the Constitution at that point.
But I think it needs to happen. I think that it is ridiculous that Wyoming has the same power as California, New York, Texas.
Well, that's what the House is
Ohio.
For. The House balances it out.
But here's the thing. I don't think a Senate based on state representation works going forward. I don't.
Really, I kind of disagree with that. I kind of like the way it's set up. I really do. I think it's nice how
when you have 70% of an American populace voting leaning left, leaning liberal, leaning progressive, in the middle to left, and yet 50% of the Senate represents conservative values.
I get that, but at the same time, I kind of like the balance because then the House is population based. So I kind of,
if we had one or the other, if we had a House or a Senate, we wouldn't be having an argument. We would say population. So why should it come down to this concept of states' rights, which I have an issue with states' rights to begin with? Because look at COVID. COVID's a great example. Gun control is another popular example where you have 50 states doing 50 things. We're not on the same board. Are we not supposed to be a country? We're supposed to be a country. Mm-hmm. So we need to do things as a country and stop doing things as like 50 children. And I don't know.
Well, the problem
I don't care. I don't care about
I get that, but
hurting Wyoming's feelings and hurting states that have like not even 1 million people. Like I don't feel bad.
Yeah, I get it. It's just that's, to be honest, you're the first person I've ever actually heard bring that up before with the Senate, and that's kind of like changing the tenets of the Constitution. So that would never change it. That would never change. But
again, I think people always like to say that there's this standard in place, but like we created the standard, we can decrease.
So you don't
the
like
standard.
states'
One of my
rights?
favorite. I think here's the thing. I think in some ways states' rights are important because what applies in Ohio is not going to apply in Florida. we're not going to have the same exact fishing laws. We're not going to have the same exact, county issues, local regional issues, right? But in terms of federal policy, like, we need to get on the same page. Like, we should be on the same page when it comes to drug rights. We should be on the same page when it comes to our justice system. We should be on the same page. When it comes to like education.
There's definitely some overlap with confusion of laws. But I was reading this really amazing stat the other day that how the things like the Electoral College can kind of bolster and compensate for what the Republican Party is actually at. With the exception of 2004, the Republican Party hasn't won the majority vote in a presidential election since 1988. And so...
Yeah. But I say get rid of the Electoral College. Because again, I mean, that leaves power in states' hands that I don't think should be there. It should be popular vote.
There was points for it at one point. I think those points have passed. Personally,
well, if you think about some of these rules, they're based on slave states. They're based on archaic rules. They're based on rules that when we were 13 colonies and not necessarily. And you can go back. Well,
like
and
I said, there was reasons for it at the time.
That's 100% at the time, absolutely. But looking to a modern America, what does that look like? Does Wyoming having 2 senators and California having 2 senators, does that seem fair? No.
That really is interesting to bring that up, because you're honestly the first person who ever has brought that point up to me before. I've never really thought about it. If there was anything I could see changing, though, in the relative near future, it would be the Electoral College. If anything, that would likely be it. But there'd be a lot of pushback because the Republicans tend to not do well in popular votes.
But here's the thing. Why do they not do well in popular votes?
Because I don't feel they're generally the majority of the country.
Exactly.
I don't.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, you want a democracy to succeed. You want to go with, the majority. You know what I mean?
But then there is the law. And I'm just playing devil's advocate here because I kind of want to hear what you think. But
you're a white boy. Devil's advocate. I mean, that's your.
There is
there
is the general, and to be honest, valid point that if you do it, then the cities kind of control everything, and the middle of the country kind of gets pushed to the side. Which, no matter which, that is mathematically a valid idea.
Here's the thing: who gets the most federal funding in the country? It's rural areas.
That's true that the blue states prop up the red states.
And here's the thing: I don't mean that to be, elitist or whatever, but the truth is, the cities generate the power, the income, the finance, the jobs.
But then also you're kind of arguing for things not being equal at the same time. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to.
Here's the thing: if you want to go live in the country, you think the country is where you need to be. That's beautiful. And you live in a state like Ohio that has 12 million people, and 3-4 million of those people live in rural-esque areas. They're still going to get their voice heard. I mean, you can't look at Ohio's election numbers and say, "Oh, well, the cities control it." This last election, we leaned heavy red. We were 54% red this election come around, and that's because of the rural. That's not because of cities. Mm-hmm. Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati, kind of didn't show up a little bit.
It all really depends on what you feel of the weight of the vote. If you don't believe that there's any weight in that, then there's no point of having the Electoral College. If you do, then, mathematically speaking, there is a heavier weight towards
no other country has an Electoral College system like we do.
I don't know.
Everything else is popular.
I don't know.
Everything else, it's popular vote. It just comes down to the numbers, baby.
Well, we
need to get on that train.
Like Germany's this way, where they don't actually select their prime minister. Prime ministers are selected by the party, not by the people. So there are those.
Yeah, true. But at the end of the day, they're voting the parties. That you vote for your parties, right? So it's like. Mm-hmm. Which I actually think is one worse. Vote.
I don't like that idea, to be honest.
No, I agree. I think you should vote for the person, not the party, for sure. But it goes back to, again, does Wyoming, that has 600,000 people, deserve 2 senators, and California, that has 50, and New York, that has 35, Texas has 30, they get 2 senators too, when in reality, a Senate that would work better would be a Senate that states like Wyoming get 1 senator,
See,
and states like California and New York get 5, states like Ohio 3, 4.
I only say yes to this because of how it's currently set up, with one house being population driven and the other one being 2. That's the only reason that I have kind of a knee jerk reaction to that, because it kind of is balanced in a way, at least from my viewpoint.
I just don't think that, like, I think balance comes from population. It does, and it comes from the individuals, right? It comes from these people. It shouldn't come from what state you're in. If there was 5 million people in Wyoming, I would still be advocating for a population-based Senate. If there was 700 million people in Alaska, I would still be advocating for a population-based Senate, because what really matters at the end of the day, what the border is that you live in per se, or you as an individual.
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, these borders are all, I don't know. I just don't think the borders of your state, you know what I mean? Like, these states could have been cut up a million different ways. Like, it just should have got, like, I don't know. I don't mean to sound like a state, you know, critical person of the state system per se. I'm not anti-states. I just think that if we're one country.
Could you name them all?
Oh yeah, Alabama, Alaska, Arizona.
I do.
The most iconic song ever.
I know we're going to end here. I do want to get to one more thing.
Yeah, of course.
One more of the over the dramas. I'm actually going to cut out one because I want to bring it up next week, and I'll let you know why. But there is one that I saw that was absolutely hilarious, and there was another group I found on Facebook where literally people post paternity test results, like drama with their paternity tests. And people guess.
So they'll post before they reveal the test.
Yes.
Be like, who do you think my baby daddy is? Yes. I know we've been talking a lot about politics, but that might be the stupidest thing that's been said this whole time. Like, the QAnon people look smart compared to people who are asking others to help poll them for their baby daddy.
Did you know
that
there's a Maury
really
Povich
rough.
board game?
What is the Maury Povich board game?
There's a Maury Povich board game, and apparently it is extraordinarily hard to play.
What do you do? You just, like,
I don't know.
Play as a contestant?
I don't know. I've only ever seen a picture of it.
Oh my gosh, we got to play that.
Let's see if I can find a
2021
picture
goal?
of it. Hold on, real quick. Yeah, here it is, Maury board game.
Okay, read the. Oh my god. So what do you do? What's the goal?
I honestly have no idea.
Well, get a Wikipedia. I need to know this now. This is very important. I mean, screw the last 20 minutes of politics talk. I really want to know this.
It's called You'll Love This Game, and it's called You Are Not the Father.
Well, that is his catchphrase, right? So
It's oh my god. The description. This is the actual description of the game on the box.
okay.
Clear your name Maury style with this hilarious party game for adults. Based on the TV show you know and love, the Maury game, You Are Not the Father challenges players to move their non-paternity through a series of shocking accusations and laugh-out-loud arguments. This is psychotic, honestly.
I mean, that is pure Americana.
It has
in a board
five.
game right
It has a
there.
5-star rating.
Oh, well then shoot. Maybe it's really good and we're just being nihilists about it.
It's $16 at Target.
Wait, 16?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I could afford that with my next stimulus check.
All right, well, that's all I got for this week.
I know. Did we even get to the point that we wanted to do today, or did we?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Absolutely
I wasn't
did.
sure if we felt like we got off rails as usual, but
It's all your fault.
in a good way. So next time we're going to be talking about Paul's book. In the future, we have a special guest that we're going to try and line up that I'm excited for. And then I'm dropping a new album pretty soon, so then we'll do another special artistic interview because we're getting a little artsy on Thoughts of the Roundtable. But until next time, and just a reminder, population over state borders. It's me, Matt. Peace out.